Welcome to the Savage Bloggers Network Hangout on Air. We are live with several folks from Pinnacle Entertainment Group, some of whom you've seen before, such as Clint Black and Scott Woodard. And we have a couple new people here as well. Jodi Black, of course, COO of Pinnacle Entertainment Group, and the ever-popular Sean Patrick Fannon. I'm
popular.
You are popular, yes.
You know, I've got to say, I don't know how new it is. It's going to be how new it's going to be for listeners to have me and Sean together on a podcast.
Clint, for that matter, too. It was pretty much you guys.
Sean and I used to host a certain Savage Worlds podcast together.
That's true.
So long since your last junk punch. Oh!
Awesome. So, Clint and Scott, welcome back. Last time we had you on air, it was with the Six Gun Crew, which that was a blast. We still talk about that on occasion, and about how much fun that was.
Yeah, it was
Sean,
great.
that was we still geek out about it sometimes. And Sean, we got to see you a little bit after that hangout. So welcome to the show. Now that you're officially on the show, and Jodi, of course, the just world's best COO of any company.
Yes.
That's a lot to live up to now.
she puts up with us. That's pretty much sainthood right there.
Exactly. So welcome, Jodi. It's you've helped coordinate a lot of these things, so I'm really happy to have you actually on the air with us. So
well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And go ahead.
I remember a time when Jodi would not even talk on a podcast.
Is that true?
She used to.
I didn't like the sound of my own voice, but it's been a while.
We would record with Clint, and Jodi would be hanging out listening to the whole thing and wouldn't start talking until I promised her that I'd stop recording.
Awesome.
Back in the before times.
That's right.
Yeah, the before times.
Fantastic.
And now she must stand forth for us all, for she's the only one anyone trusts anymore.
That's not true. I think we all still trust Shane.
That's true.
I know him too well for that.
No.
That's right. I said it. Come at me, bro.
So, Clint and Jodi, before we get started, how is your Kickstarter for Carolina Game Tables going?
It's going great. You know, we made our goal in the first 5 hours, which was phenomenal.
That was, yeah.
Awesome.
We expanded out because we kind of realized a little bit early in that the early bird idea for game tables, when you're trying to ask an entire family to come up with enough money to buy a, solid dining room table, didn't really kind of fit that whole thing of, we can make that decision in 5 hours.
Right. Right.
So
it's not like, where do you want to go to lunch?
Yeah. That's like, what do you want to do for lunch? That can take a half an hour itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So we expanded that out. We added more slots for the early birds, so there's more options for people to get them at that rate. And then just this weekend, we added in a new design for a new table, a kitchen-sized table.
There's a new reward there now, so you can get a 4-foot square table with a 38-inch by 38-inch square inside, so you can play a 3-foot by 3-foot game, like what was it, like the X-Wing miniatures?
The Star Wars miniatures game?
Yeah, there's a bunch of games out there that fit that. Or you could do our 6-foot by 4-foot table that has, 32 by 50 area? Yeah.
32 by 50. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah,
Too many numbers.
So I'm gonna throw an idea out there. Have you thought about a coffee table?
Or you can have a big table.
What about a coffee table? Have you guys considered a coffee table?
We've considered it, but we were, working pretty hard to get the new designs. It'll take a while before we can introduce anything else.
Cool.
But we are working on some pretty cool stuff there. And
the kitchen table was next on the list, so we had to fast forward it to get it in to where we could offer it during the Kickstarter, because we had people ask about a smaller one. But wanting to do other options and other designs is kind of on that list. So, but yeah, it's like it just takes a while to go through the design process and the prototyping stuff. I mean, we're still not quite prototyped on the kitchen one, but we've got the basis down, so it shouldn't be a problem to get it put through. But
So for
that's all on
the
me out here.
yeah.
For the Sean Patrick Fannon budget, it'll be the TV tray table, right? That'll be the next one.
Sean, we have this $5 leather coaster option where you get one coaster.
I'm in!
So you just buy a bunch of coasters and lay them out.
Vern collects coasters, so I've actually considered the full-on coaster option.
There you go.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm getting looked at by Corinne. It's like one of those looks. It's like the boys are weird look. I don't know. It's
Yes.
Yes, it's a variant on the boys are weird.
well,
looking.
we all on the table. We got to get this apartment first. But believe me, it's on the list.
So I'm gonna jump over to Scott real quick. Scott, last time we spoke to you, you were digging into the Six Gun, of course, working on that. How's that been going for you, man?
Been going extremely well. As you may or may not know, it did very, very well at Gen Con. And at the moment, I am neck, if not nose deep, in the Six Gun Companion, which is coming along extremely well. And as Jodi well knows, it should be in her hands shortly. But we've got some really terrific stuff going on in that.
Awesome. And you're
Actually,
go ahead, Ron.
I have a question about the companion. As a guy that backed the Kickstarter,
This is for you, Jodi.
I know that the companion is technically going to be the drive-through POD option.
Yes.
Are they doing it in that comic book size, or is it going to be a different size?
It's what they call a medium size. We haven't nailed down the layout quite yet because we're still busy with words. But on pricing it, it's going to be close to the graphic novel size.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I was just wanting to make sure because, I don't want to make my bookshelf go back to looking weird.
Any more
EKG.
skyscraperish than it is.
It's the Pinnacle plan to make everybody's bookshelf an EKG meter.
We're trying to get away from that.
We are. We're trying to neaten it up for you.
Right.
Good stuff.
So, Sean, I'm going to ask the obvious question. Savage Rifts, man. How's?
Who wants to know about that, man? Come on, that's old to me.
So how's that going for you?
Quite well, actually. We had a round of Kevin and his folks taking a look at it and coming back with very, very positive feedback. They're very, very excited. In fact, they gave us some great feedback. We had to go in and do a couple of extra tinkers to address a couple of things that they caught that we missed. So it's been a very, very positive relationship. Very, very cooperative, very collaborative. He's extremely excited. So we're plowing forward. I have been smacked on the nose with a taser-empowered newspaper enough times that I'm going to stay away from saying anything too specific about what is done and what isn't. But I can tell you that the game is an extremely playable state. People are having a lot of fun with it. The demos have been extremely exciting. I said that twice now, sorry. Very exciting. Let's try that one. We're in really good shape. I am neck deep myself in the GM's guide right now, and coming up with some really cool stuff for that. And it's just full speed ahead. The big thing right now is we had originally put out that we were hoping for an end of year thing, but Shane has confirmed that we're going to shoot for first part of 2016. And the reason for that is this has got to be awesome in every way possible, and that includes the art. Last day of Gen Con, me, Ross Watson, and Aaron Acevedo walked around with Shane and spent a long time actually looking at the best books, the best looking books, the best pieces of art in the art show. We did that very specifically so that we were all on the same page for the vision that we wanted to share about what should come out first, how we come out swinging from the cover to the interior to the graphic design to the words to the design, all of it swinging for the fences for this one because we know so many people are looking at this line. So it's got to be it's got to be top notch. It's got to be 1,000%, and we're all committed to that. So, I don't think I say anything out of line when I say we'll go for best there is rather than early every time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the Pinnacle way for almost everything that's been released. So, yeah, I'm happy to hear that, man. That's really good.
The best part is I've been talking about some of the things that we've chosen to do that are a little different than the original Rifts presentation, like what we did with Juicers, which we talked about at Gen Con, and what we've been doing with some of the other classic concepts. And a lot of people are like, well, wow, you're kind of stepping far afield, and what are they going to say about that? Well, they're excited as all get out is what they're saying. And Kevin's just thrilled with it, and his team is excited. So we are bringing some innovations as well as some, really representing those classic ideas. It is Savage Worlds cranked to 11. There's no questions asked. This is going to blow your mind. If you're a lot more for the, I carry my 38 a film noir thing and I'm just kind of looking for that level, Rifts is going to be a little different because the guns are big, the spells are big, everything's big. But that's what Rifts always was, and that's what we're bringing.
So Clint, you've you've reflected a lot, like on the forums, with questions that people have asked and doing like either adaptations or trying to accomplish a certain feel. And obviously, with Rifts, you've been working really closely with Sean. You've also shown in some occasions that how you can just take the core of Savage Worlds and really adapt the system, the rules, the core rules to suit this setting. What has that been like for something like Rifts compared to, say, other settings?
Wow. Yeah. Rifts has been a very different creature. It really has. It's not too far afield from some of the stuff I've talked about on the forums. I know you and I have had the discussion before, and I think I've even had it with Ron at some points in time personally. And I know, Sean and other things like that, where I've said that you could take things like come outside the core to the companions, specifically the superpowers companion, and you can use that as an underlying foundation to do a lot of different things that do go into more over-the-top, abilities and stuff like that. The most obvious one off the bat is Star Wars, where you could have all of your Force abilities bought as powers, and Jedi get access to those, but then if you're the humans, you get access to things like buying the additional feats and increasing your skills and things like that, to where you're still having those points, you're just using them in a different way, and maybe you don't call it that, but it's a foundational basis to build off of. The one I've actually done and run is I use the Superpowers Companion as a basis to run a Buffy game for Jodi and a couple of friends at one point in time, and I just built. And it's great how the Eden system just almost ports directly over point for point at the time with the Superpowers Companion. I could just sit there and take all their demon builds, all their character builds, and just translate it over. And, in this case, it's not that we used that so much, but we used what we knew from it to build those things like, bursters and juicers and crazies and things like that. We knew where those balanced out because we had done all that work so that it would, work well with the science fiction companion, that we made those two work and balance together. And since Rifts is effectively... Yeah, okay. Since Rifts is effectively taking from both of those, that was a perfect foundation to go with. So, yeah, we're veering away from the core, and we're going into those books more to build off of that as a foundation. But from there, Sean's building the world of Rifts on top of it,
Right.
And that's what I was saying. I was going to say. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jodi.
Oh, go ahead.
Jodi.
Jodi, were you going to say something?
I was just going to clarify that Clint's not talking that you need the Superpowers Companion or the Science Fiction Companion at this point to play Rifts. It'll be a standalone. You just need the core rules, right?
Right.
Exactly. So one of the mandates was that it did need to track well with the Sci-Fi Companion because there was just so much there in terms of tech, in terms of guns, weapons, vehicles. In Rifts you have what Sci-Fi Companion calls walkers, right? Robot armor. You have power armor. You have all those things parallel to the guys who are casting big magic and all that. So that compatibility was necessary, but Jodi's completely right. This is going to be standalone. The only book you'll need is the core rules, and that's a commitment we have across the board, right? You can take the Sci-Fi Companion and do some more if you really want to, because if anything, Rifts is a kitchen sink kind of world where anything can come in and play anyway. That was the way it was originally designed. Now, as Clint said, we had to go some new places because there are expectations from people who love Rifts. They're going to want to see something that is decidedly a glitter boy, decidedly a leyline walker, decidedly a juicer. An edge was not going to be enough to convey all of that information and all of the special abilities. So we took the racial approach, the idea of if you took a race, that race is going to modify your basic build. We cranked that to 11, and we use a similar approach to you take this iconic framework and you layer it on top of what is still a standard build character. You still have your 15 skill points, your 5 attribute points, your hindrances. You still build that character. But you just, and everything else that has gone into this thing has been a matter of layering on top of the known rules, layering on top of the foundation that you already know. So, it's going to be more, but it's not going to be completely like left angle different. You're still building and playing a Savage Worlds character. You're just front loading a lot of extra cool stuff at first, and then you still have plenty of directions to go with your character build from there.
So sort of to summarize, then, what we're looking at is it's not so much that it's using the Superpowers Companion, but that there were a lot of lessons learned in terms of design and development that you're able to then sort of massage the Savage Worlds rules to do what you need to do for Rifts. And then when you were talking about it using it being a standalone system, that brings to mind another question. In the past, certain license settings were all-inclusive. So, for example, Solomon Kane, that's not going to be the case for Rifts, correct?
That is correct. Like, we didn't do that for Sixth Gun either.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, the idea basically is to foundation everything off of. And the truth is, most fans have the core rules. So it's not really fair to them to ask them to buy the core rules again. So it's also let me tell you something. I already had to cut so much from what we were going to be able to put in this book. I mean, nothing. It's a solid book, but there's so much material. Putting in the core rules again would have even way more space than was necessary. So we just wanted to cram more new cool stuff in there.
Cool.
And remember, we're trying to keep to the graphic novel format. So
size.
You don't want to do 5 volumes of Rifts that you need every single volume.
Right.
To play. Right. No, we're looking at, you got the core rule book, you got your player's guide, you got your GM's guide, and then we'll go off the rails for the rest of it.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about the core rule book is that it is only $10, and so getting your foot in the door with Savage Worlds it's effortless almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I cannot contain myself any longer. I am going to force a subject change.
Do it.
Dun 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 dun.
Flash!
Excellent. Scott, spill it.
Yes. Well, I mean, unfortunately, at this point, of course, we can't. I mean, there's not a lot we can say right now. I mean, Jodi, you can.
Yeah, you left us on a cliffhanger, man.
I know it's a huge cliffhanger, and that's appropriate for Flash Gordon, isn't it?
Yes,
but at the moment, we certainly, we know we want to line it, have a full line. That's obviously the intention here. I'm currently speaking with some fantastic writers, and we're lining up some people who are incredibly interested in working on this project. I'm certainly very, very excited, and right now, once the Six Gun Companion is done, it'll be Flash Gordon all the time, and so Mongo is going to be my home away from home, if not my home.
Nice.
and we're really excited to work on it. I mean, we've got access to just decades and decades of incredible material here to play with, and it's a wide and exciting universe, and we're looking forward to having a good time in it. So there's and Jodi, unless you have more to add at this point, we have to obviously be a little bit vague, but.
It's in production.
Yes. So the only question I really have, actually I have a couple questions, but one was one that Ron and I, nice, awesome. So the question I have, or one of the first questions I have is, Flash Gordon has gone through a number of different styles throughout different mediums, whether it was the old serials or comic books or films or even television shows, right? Mm-hmm. What's going to be the sort of, I guess, trade dress or whatever for
the core inspiration?
Yeah. Well, there are across the board with everything that has been produced, whether it's the original strips, whether it's the serials, whether it's the 1980 film, or even the Sci-Fi Channel short-lived TV series. There are themes. There are commonalities amongst all of those. And we, at the moment, are able to play in pretty much anything that is Flash Gordon. So we've got access to a huge universe, and there is going to be a lot of crossover. So thematically, I mean, it's tough to say because, there's just, like I say, there are just so many commonalities. You've got Mongo, you've got Flash, you've got all of the kingdoms of Mongo, and it doesn't matter how they have been depicted. There are always similarities and always sort of the sameness amongst everything that's been done. And so that's been one of the most intriguing things about it, is to take all that stuff and pull little bits and pieces out of every way it's been represented over the decades. And that's one thing that I think all of us are really looking forward to doing. I don't know. I hope that answers your question.
You actually answered that in exactly the way I was hoping you would answer.
Yeah.
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 It's Flash Gordon. I was just it's Flash Gordon to be a quarterback for the New York Jets.
So I think that's pretty much the only thing that's ever changed, right? That's the only thing that's really changed about all the different versions is what his sort of career was.
Yeah, I mean, I think the early one, oh gosh, what is he? Is it lacrosse? I always forget which sport that he plays in the beginning, but he is a sports star.
Right.
So yeah, there's always been. I mean, it's just amazing to see how faithful, in some ways, the 1980 movie was to the original strips, and I think that's been the intention of all of the people who've played in that universe, is to take all those things that are just essentially Flash Gordon and make sure they're right there on the screen or on the page, and that's what we're going to do.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, that's actually one of the huge advantages to doing Flash that's been phenomenal to find out. Because we have access to all the original comics, that a lot of people aren't familiar with. As you go through them, you suddenly realize that all of the shows were almost taken, some cases word from word, directly from the comics, including the movie. I mean, I think, Gordon's Alive, Dive My Hawkman, Dive, all that stuff, a lot of these iconic lines were taken almost directly from the comics.
Nice.
They really did stay true, and I think in that case that was what they were going for in the movie back in the 80s, is they wanted that campy over the top, so they wanted to use those lines that had that feel from the comic.
Well, as long as the art isn't just freeze frames of the movie, I'll be happy.
Right. I think you'll be happy.
I'm just kidding.
So Alec Muzzy, he's currently watching the show. He submitted a question. It's actually one of the other questions I was going to ask. And a lot of people sort of immediately drew comparisons to Slipstream, right? And the question being, what does that mean for Slipstream? Is it going to be a Slipstream sort of 2.0, or with the serial numbers slapped back on, or what? Jodi, I'm assuming you might be the best person probably to field this one. What's your take on that?
Well, Scott, you jump in if I start veering off course here, because I haven't talked to Shane about that one recently. But Slipstream is still out. We still have plenty of copies available. We have no reason to update the file anytime soon. That if you just wanted to PDF download, it's still good to play. Especially if you want to get your Flash Gordon on right now, go download Slipstream and start playing it. It's not going to be anything like what we've got for Flash Gordon, because it's such its own universe. Yeah. So I kind of feel like the two products complement each other. They don't, we obviously, Slipstream is an older product. We don't currently have any intention to put out any new adventures for it right now. But there's been some great fan-created content that's been coming out for that, and there's some really good stuff out there that you can be playing right now if you can't wait for Flash Gordon. But we're getting Flash Gordon to you, and Scott's going to do a great job with that.
Excellent.
Yeah, one of the things I really enjoy about us being able to do this is, Flash Gordon or Slipstream was always our homage to like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and all the old pulp sci-fi stuff, that was like that. But what we've tended to find is you kind of have two groups of fans, and then the Venn diagram where they cross over of the people who, I don't want to play in a licensed setting. I like that style of game, but I don't want a licensed setting. And then you have the kind of people that are like, yeah, I really just want Flash Gordon, But then you have the crossover people that say, I want both. I want to be able to take that and put it together. Well, with Slipstream and Flash Gordon now, everybody's going to have what they want. You just pick and choose. If you want both of them, put it together. But the great thing with Flash Gordon is it's not going to be an homage anymore. You're going to have Mongo. You're going to have those characters. You're going to have that world, and it's going to be a blast.
That's kind of my take on it. Like Ron and I talked about this in one of the podcast episodes, where the one of the advantages to having a licensed setting, because a lot of people are reacting like, well, it's just Slipstream with the serial numbers left. I'm like, no. That's not the case, because what I feel like you get with a true licensed setting is you get an immediate baseline assumption that all players will have starting that game. So the ramp up into, or even the buy-in into a setting is going to be a lot easier than, say, something that's unique and different, where you have to learn the details of that setting in itself. So, when you say Flash Gordon, boom, everybody's ready to go. They know exactly what that means.
This comes back to my theory that most players will not read anything. Unless it's a rule to screw over the game master.
That's right.
One of my thoughts is that those who are Slipstream fans, first and foremost, are still going to want to get their hands on this because, obviously, we have collectively learned a lot since that book came out.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that comes out in a Flash Gordon book that Slipstream fans could certainly adapt to their game, even if they weren't necessarily going to play Flash Gordon. So, there's that.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to have, Flash Gordon specific tech. We're going to have, a nice bestiary of things that have appeared throughout all the the years. There's a lot of stuff that can easily be crossed over without any effort whatsoever, and I think that's going to be one of its biggest appeals.
Nice. So Scott, are you looking at all the old comics and finding those obscure things that are in the corner panels?
Oh yes.
Standing them out, or...
Yes. Yeah, and it's even more jarring working on this stuff because the detail on some of the work. I mean, you look at some of the artwork that was done, even going way back into the 30s. It is stellar. It really is, and I really hope that that's one of the things that the RPG does. Is I really hope it gets people to take a look at the strips because they're phenomenal. Some of the artwork is. I mean, I would put it on my wall. I probably will have it all over my wall soon, but for different reasons. But yeah, there's a lot of incredible little tiny things that I'm pulling out of the panels that I'm looking forward to putting into the book, and just or books, I should say, and looking forward to getting the feedback from fans saying, "I can't believe you caught that little thing," and because that's the fun part.
Right.
Is there a good place for a consumer to get a hold of all those old comics?
They've been printed multiple times. I mean, I'm going to be a shill for a particular company, but there's Titan Books is doing these real nice collections that I've been enjoying. And one of the reasons I like this particular series is the format of the books is larger, and so it's easier for me to see the image as well, and also to make notes and put Post-its all over things. And it's also a matte quality paper, and the coloring is really nice as well. So I recommend those ones. But there've been quite a few that have been released, and in regards to the Titan one, I think Volume 4 is coming out in the next couple of months. So it's currently in production. So, but nice. Yeah, go out and track them down in whatever format. I mean, there are some out there that are a little cheaper, and those might be great for you depending on what your financial situation is. But the Titan ones I personally recommend if you really want to take a look at them.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, another fun thing if you want to get a good feel for Flash Gordon right off the bat is go to YouTube and do a search for Flash Gordon Classic. I can't think of his name. It's Rob. I can't think of the animator, but he's worked for Disney and stuff like that. And he's done fan films. And he did Superman Classic, and it's like the old 30s style.
Yeah.
Nice. And he did a Flash Gordon animation like within the past 2 years or so, I think.
Yeah, very recently.
And it's in the old style, but he actually got for his voice actor for Flash, Eric Johnson, who played Flash, on the Sci-Fi Channel movie, and then he got, other voice actors, but it's definitely kind of that old style and feel, and it's got, at the end, it's got this great thing where he talks about why he chose Flash Gordon, of how it was Lucas's inspiration to do Star Wars, and he went back and he saw the serials, and one of my favorite parts is he says he really wanted to, do the original artwork, do it like the old comic strip style, but then he saw the original art, and he realized there's no way he could animate it. It was so beautiful, it was so gorgeous, that there was no way he could do an animated version of it, so he ended up having to move forward into when they started to do like some animation and other stuff to like base off of that and make that style. But,
and the serials, of course, are, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the serials are, I think all of them are in the Internet Archive. You can go and watch those for free.
Yeah. So
then you can fly your Flash Gordon ship into rifts, but make sure you have a big gun on it.
A big gun. Right?
Why not?
Yeah.
Flash Gordon is a mega damaged creature, just so you know.
I would believe Brian Blessed. No, I don't mean the character Zoltar. I mean Brian Blessed is a mega damage creature.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. So, Clint and Jodi, I know you're going to have to leave a little bit early before we end the show, so I'm gonna put a little bit of focus on you for a little bit, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right. So there were some other licensees and other products, but I want to start with some of the PEG-specific stuff. You announced also a new version of Rippers, a new edition of Rippers. That was correct?
Let's see. We'll call
Rippers 2.0,
Yeah.
I guess.
Is that, yeah.
1.5?
1. No.
No.
3. Rippers.
Rippers XP? Or
yeah, I mean.
Rippers Thrive.
Yeah, Simon came back. We were going to redo Rippers, and that was one of Simon Lucas's when back when he was with Pinnacle. That was kind of his baby. That came out under his tenure and his work. And so we went back, and Simon's been working on it. And when he came back, he basically took the storyline and moved it ahead from where the old book left off, which is really cool, and it's been a neat idea because it lets us do something within the setting and make changes into it that fit the storyline and what we wanted to kind of do with it mechanically. And it brings in a whole. It's neat because it's not just an update, but it's a new dynamic for Rippers. In a sense, with that same feel, obviously, we want to keep with, but it's not just here's the same setting with the same exact things that we had before. Here's kind of taking it right from the point where the last one ended, the last storyline ended. So you're still in that same period. It's just now things have changed a little bit different, and we're able to use that to make a few tweaks that we wanted to make to the system, but not make them feel so jarring. It actually feels like it's organically coming out of what happened from the first book.
So maybe this is sort of an obvious question. If I wanted to, could I just start with this new version of Rippers, this new edition of Rippers, without having had played
Absolutely.
or run?
Yeah.
And conversely, could I run the old Rippers or play the old Rippers using material from the new one?
That is our intent.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're trying to work out a way to actually take the old plot point campaign and rework it so that you get that information so that that's updated as much as it needs to be, which may not be much. So you can, if you want to, take the new book and the old campaign and play it and run through that using the new book. So if you want to go back and play the old campaign, we're trying to work out a way to make that available to the fans. But if you want to, you can just pick up the book and go from there.
So how many books is this going to have to be?
Of the new line, it's going to be 2 books, a player's guide and a GM's guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be basically 2 of the new standard size books.
Yes, graphic novel format, all the way. Yeah.
I like that it's being split into 2 books. That's interesting.
Well, we felt like there was enough mechanically with it that we wanted to have that front-loaded into the player's guide and then have the GM's guide be more focused on the plot point campaign. Or do we want to say it's... Anyways, it's going to be... It's still in development.
Remember, part of what we're drawing from isn't just the original book, but also the Ripper's Companion.
Right, I was going to ask about that.
In it, so you're going to have the stuff about like the Egyptian set of Rippers that was in the companion. Those are going to be integral to the player's book. Mm-hmm. You'll have that starting out as an option of which faction of Rippers your character's from. So you'll have those other options that are kind of in there already, pulled in from the companion, so it's all in one place.
And of course, the entire intent on this is that fans of the old Rippers are going to be super excited to see the story continue and to be able to play it again. Yeah, thanks, Scott. 2 thumbs up. You know, and at the same time, we're hoping that new people will get into the Victorian horror of, you know, ripping the tech, you know, ripping those teeth right out of the vampire, putting them in your own face, because you are that badass.
I remember running the original Rippers, and my buddy Bill harvested, I want to say, was it like the pituitary gland, or no, I forget what it was, but from a lizard in the sewer, and was able to breathe fire, and it was some sort of a bladder or whatever. But when he was able to do that, his mind was blown. Like I can do what now?
You become
And so-
the monsters you're fighting. Yes.
Yes, totally.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Do we have a timeline right now? I know.
I think you mentioned October for the Kickstarter, right? Or something like that.
Yes, and that brings up an interesting point. So, yeah.
Interesting, good, or
I think it's going to be good. So we've tossed it around. Of course, Kickstarter has always been good to us at Pinnacle, but it takes a lot of time, and then you know, players get and GMs alike get a lot of cool things, but it is mostly geared towards GMs. There's only so much stuff that you can put out for players. So I think at this moment what we're planning to do is a release on our website instead, and do that as a pre-order. We'll be taking pre-orders for it maybe right after we release the Savage Tales of Horror. So you've got plenty of horror material to run in October while you're waiting on your Rippers to come out. But yeah, we're hoping to kind of adapt the Kickstarter model and run it on our own site. At least that is the intent. And I think if we were going to try that with any property, this is the best one to try it with. So
Nice.
you know, we'll hear back from all of you, I know, on social media here. People will send me emails. I'm happy to hear it, because, you know, I know some people are probably going to be, but we have to have the Kickstarter. We want to see the tally go up. You know, we might be able to put a little thermometer widget onto our website. We'll see. You know.
Okay, very cool.
So we're playing around with that idea right now. We still have plenty of time to plan it, but at this point, we're going to try to avoid making Kickstarter more money.
The thing is, Savage fans, Pinnacle fans, they're true, right? That's one thing I love about being part of this team now, is that Pinnacle fans are absolutely the freaking best. And if anybody could do this, it would be Shane and Pinnacle and this team that could do it outside the Kickstarter model, and it would still work just fine. So I think it's going to be a positive thing. I think it's going to work.
Yeah, I don't
it
think
makes the company more money too. So.
I don't think Pinnacle Entertainment Group has ever had an issue with people wanting to throw money at them. So, just saying.
We hope you feel like we're worth it.
Yeah.
Search the phrase on the forums, "Shut up and take my money," and tell me how many players come up.
Thank you.
So you mentioned also the Savage Tales of Horror. We know a couple of even bloggers out there have mentioned that they're going to be writing. Christian Linkey was one, Tommy Brownell was another. And this was something that was announced at Gen Con as well. What else can you tell us about that? How many other authors and how many other sort of products are we looking at out there?
It's going to be 3 books, and each book has, I'm pretty sure it's 5, sorry. Clint's reminding me of little hand signals down here. 5 stories.
Lights!
Each one of the books is going to have a range of so many different genres, because when you talk horror, there's just no end in sight to anything that you can imagine, and you put that horrific spin on it. So I think you're going to be really pleased. We've got everything in there, from a Solomon Kane adventure to
unicorns. Unicorns are horrific.
I guess horrific unicorn. But important. I want to point out the Savage Tales of Horror only requires the horror companion. So, for example, the adventure that's written for Solomon Kane, you can run it without Solomon Kane. There's a little sidebar in there for how you can run it with Solomon Kane. So it fits into that. And so on with all of the other settings that are kind of a nod towards some of our existing settings. And then we have some that have no setting whatsoever, but They're
Nice.
still a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Tommy's working on a Deadlands specific one, but it's again, it was you don't need Deadlands to run it or play it.
Just be a Western horror. Yeah.
Yep. Western horror.
Even 6-gun, right, Scott?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know the idea is to create new gateways, new places where we can hook people's attention and bring them in. So I think that's part of it. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Right, sort of like if you like this, there's more.
Oh,
Check this out.
yes.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a page turner for GMs. You know, because the GMs are going to get each one of the books. They're going to read the back cover text and go, that sounds kind of cool. And then they're going to start reading, and they're not going to want to stop at the end of the chapter. They'll want to move on to the next one.
Nice.
So that raises another question. Then, if we're talking about the horror companion, we know that there's some player races in there that are new, monstrous ones in particular. In either the New Rippers or in the Savage Tales of Horror, will players be able to play those races?
That's a you question.
Not in Rippers. Not in Rippers, because we're not changing that. I mean, we're not. Rippers is standalone. It's not going to require the horror companion.
Okay.
It's going to be like it was originally. It's going to be a standalone. So we're not going that far afield from what we originally had of saying you're playing the monsters. The monsters are still the monsters. If you're a monster, it's because you've made yourself one.
Right. Okay.
You know? And so that's not going to be it. I don't think any of the Savage Tales of Horror are built around that concept, not that I recall, because most of them went with the straight idea of we wanted to do horror adventures more than supernatural horror-esque themed kind of situations. Now, we have a wide variety of horror adventures, which is cool because I've always told people, you basically are going to have like 15 adventures, and one of them is going to work for whatever Halloween game you want to run.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you want it to be, a Western, you want to fit it into Deadlands with a Western, or you're running Solomon Kane, and you can work this in here, or you can work that in there.
Or Weird Wars, or ETU, or...
Yeah, or if you want to run one that's just totally oddball, like Shane.
Yeah.
Shane's story, which is it is very Shane, and things like that. So each one has a different flavor and a different feel, which I also think is neat for a GM point of view because each one gives you different thoughts on how to run a horror game that's a little bit different from the others, But then you can also see some of the similarities between them. So it can really be something GMs can look at as almost a treatise on how to do horror adventures.
Nice. So if you wanted to create something of your own, here are some examples.
Right. Yeah, you got 15 examples there, to go with, and 15 different authors. So it's a lot to choose from. You should find something that's really going to help you, if not everything, doesn't give you some kind of inspiration.
So go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead. No. If you're still on the same subject, go ahead.
I was going to say, so as far as what we're looking at in terms of using the horror companion, we're looking at things like the revised fear, not revised fear, was the different sort of fear rules, the edges, those kinds of things, right? Like the hunter type edges, etc.
Yeah, I think
It depends on the story.
In the story, yeah.
There may be some references to like rituals.
Rituals, nice.
Especially, I think, like
in horror,
possibly come up. Yeah, might come up in the one that's college themed adventure.
Well, there's more than one.
Okay, but there may also be references to, I don't know, monsters or creatures or things like that. Because
there's demons,
Yeah,
there's.
I'm just thinking how we say
like you do.
That's right, like you do.
Like you do. Yes.
It goes campy in some of them. It goes really scary, and in some of them. So it's a wide range.
And I don't think all of them actually require the horror companion. I think you'll find some in all the books that are going to take you back to something there, and you can use it for certain things. But I think there's also adventures that are just like, all you really need is the core book and make the characters and go.
Well, it's setting rules more than anything. Each one of the Savage Tales of Horror has a little section on setting rules for that particular scenario. So
Nice.
a lot of them are coming from the Horror Companion, as well as
Right.
good old Blood and Guts or something like that from from Savage Worlds.
So I know the two of you. I know the two of you had a hard stop at a quarter past. Is that still the case?
Did, and the dog has already come over here to say it's bedtime. You idiot.
All right.
Well,
Well,
I
unfortunately,
have to get my question in.
go ahead.
Yeah.
This is a companion-related question. One is, I'm assuming, hope I'm correct, that the Horror Companion and the Fantasy Companion will eventually get the graphic novel treatment.
Absolutely.
And then how close is that to happening?
Not anytime soon. We have so much. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those books right now.
No, I meant like I know that they have to go out of print first.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that there's no reason to update them a whole heck of a lot right now, and we're really focusing. We're running flat out on all this new stuff that we're doing.
Mhm.
So we don't want to devote any of our staff time to tweaking them and re-releasing them. Just to
Okay.
sorry.
More than likely, what's going to happen is we're not going to think about it for a while because we're doing all this other stuff until
Right.
it gets to the point where we need to have it done now. And Jodi
Yeah.
is all like, "Why haven't you been working on this?"
And you're like, are you kidding me?
Yes. How did that happen? You know?
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer than you intended to stay up. So thank you again so much for joining us.
There are two questions. I know that Ron had one, and then there's one here from our chat. Has Peg ever considered producing non-Savage Worlds RPGs besides Showdown, a new system, or another OGL? And that came from Eric Lamoureux. Considered? Yes.
Doing it? No.
Well,
Well, you did do a card game at one point, right?
yeah, I was going to say, you have to remember we have the Deadlands board game now.
Mhm.
In the works, and that's obviously not a Savage Worlds product. So we do have other products that we have.
Yeah, if we're talking
Yeah.
about other types of games, but if we're talking about RPGs, even
Yeah.
Showdown isn't an RPG.
Not
I
really.
mean, it's that's a miniature skirmish game.
And it's
Yeah,
still a
but-
distilled version of Savage Worlds.
It's Savage Worlds.
So yeah, if the point is, are you doing other types of games? I mean, yeah, we've got the Deadlands Noir board game.
Mhm. I think that's it.
That's it, right?
Shane is doing other RPGs, just not doing it.
Yeah, Shane is writing other RPGs. Yeah,
It's not necessarily published by Peg. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's not
Yeah.
Pinnacle. That's Shane.
Right. So we'll have to have you back on at another time so we can ask you more about also Goon and I forgot the title of the other one.
Fury.
Tales from the Fury.
Yep.
Tales
Yes,
of the Fury.
yes.
Tales of the Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once we get a little closer on that, so when there's more information, we should definitely bring it back on.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't know. That hasn't ever stopped us from talking about things before, not having information. Jump right in.
You realize we're making all this up right now.
That's right. That's right. We haven't made any decisions.
Well, as Shane said, join us again next year when we tell you why things aren't out yet.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of why things are late,
Oh, good.
Necessary Evil Breakout. That
Right.
we were really, really, really hoping we could have it done by and ready for Tuesday, but it does not look like we're going to have it. It does look, however, like we might be able to have the player's guide.
Oh, nice.
I'm you guys can see it here. You've heard it from me. We really want to get that to you guys. We are not trying to just jerk your chain.
Cross fingers.
But yeah, but we just have to make sure that all of our ducks are lined up in a row, and we got to get everything in. So
It sounds fair. Yeah, I'd rather have it done right than done fast. So.
that's right.
So who do we kill? Just a quick question.
What ritual do we need to perform?
Killing people means taking them out of the workflow, and that's bad.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's right. And I'm not ratting out anybody on my team. It's always a team effort. We're all working it out.
Yeah,
Well, no,
it's
no,
not
I was
my
thinking,
fault.
is there an external influence that we
Right.
can take out for you?
Sacrifices,
To
Well,
free up
delays
the
happen.
workflow?
Yeah,
Okay.
delays just happen.
Yeah.
If you could cast like a ritual version of Summon Ally to mow my yard, That would be awesome.
I would, if I could do that, I'd do it for things in my house.
I'll test that out with the wash my car ritual that I'm working on right now.
Right, that would be great.
Bathe my
Yeah,
kids.
the reality of if you actually gave college students the ability to cast rituals.
Right.
I'm summoning an ally to wash my car.
Or to take my test.
Yeah,
Take my
take
test.
my test.
Excellent.
Well,
Excellent.
thank you guys for having us on.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for organizing it, Jodi.
No problem. I'm glad that we had Scott and Sean available so that they could talk about our hottest properties that people have lots of questions about.
Yes.
Yeah, it
And
was
now
great
you need
fun.
to leave so that we can ask them questions that we can't ask while you're here.
Okay,
I'm
I'll
just kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
think there's a gag order,
Oh,
actually.
yeah, I'll keep an eye. Hey guys,
Awesome.
wait, am I staying?
Yeah.
yes, you're staying if you want to stay.
Oh, you want to stay? Sweet. Clint's staying.
Sweet.
It's the after Jodi party.
Ooh, you said that, not me.
That always gets me in trouble at Gen Con.
So, well, I guess if you're staying, Clint, then can you Ron, you had a question specifically that you wanted to ask about Goon.
Yeah, I did, and I forgot to ask it while Jodi was here.
She's probably
So-
the only one who can answer it.
Oh, good. So I'll ask it anyway, just to put it out there. One of the things I noticed about the Goon, because it was not a property I was familiar with, so as a person who is into all things Savage Worlds, I went and checked out the Goon. And the first thing I noticed about it is it does not conform to Shane's stated vision of Savage Worlds being PG-13, at least for products coming out of Pinnacle. Is there a plan for that? Has the vision changed? What can you say about it?
Right.
Or is it an exception because it's a license? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Next.
Hold on a second. Maybe I can get the thing.
What?
The Goon PG-13.
Oh, yeah.
I'm bringing her back.
Yay!
Hey.
That was my goal, was to force her back in front of the
That's
computer.
right.
You can't leave us, Jodi. You can't leave us.
Well, and she's so purty, I'd rather look at her than Clint.
Yeah, there's that. There's that.
What?
Okay, so what was the question again?
The Goon.
So the Goon doesn't seem to conform to Pinnacle's like stated PG-13 goals as far as content that Pinnacle releases. So is this an exception to the rule? Have the rules changed? Can you kind of comment on that?
As a general rule, the rules have not changed. No, we still aim for PG-13, only really for violence. We're just not. That's not our kind of company. We want something. It works for the superhero movies. It works for us too. It's what everybody wants. And if you want more adult situations, you can read between the lines. So I think for Tales of the Fear Agent, what I wanted to point out is that we have done things that are slightly edgier before, like Deadlands Noir. That's not something that we would really consider sticking to our normal PG-13. That's a little bit edgier, but not, it's not X.
Right, you got the drinking, the killing, all those kinds of things, right?
Yeah. So we've done it before, and we will be walking that line pretty closely. But it's in really good hands, so I'm happy with it, and I'm not worried.
I think the nice thing about it, though, is as far as presenting a game in an RPG book, we don't necessarily have to present those themes that take it over the top. Or we don't. It's not that we don't have to present those themes. It's like those themes can be there. We just don't have to graphically describe it to the point that take it, past PG-13. I mean, you have the same themes in a PG-13 quote-unquote movie that you can have in an R-rated movie or something like that. It's just how much you see of that and how much is quote-unquote behind the curtain, so to speak.
Right. Well,
I'm
in the case of Rippers, with the amount of violence that even Rippers sort of implies, you're not necessarily, like spelling that out, but it's implied, and that's about it.
I'm reminded of a product based on a, quite frankly, pornographic comic series called Ironwood. The actors got the license to do the game, and I was like, okay, this I got to see. And they dealt with all the story and the world and they only used images that weren't, and they implied a bunch of stuff. So I mean, that was about as extreme as there is, but it's entirely possible to cover a world and create an environment to game in without necessarily bringing every single one of the more graphic aspects of it over.
Right, right. The focus being on how does this sort of translate and how do you represent it in a game like Savage Worlds rather than, just.
I like
reproducing
Jodi
content.
being in charge because she answers everything so far the way I want to hear the answer. That is cool.
Ron.
What was that?
It's because I read your mind.
Yeah, it's through that weird link you have with my wife.
That's right.
It's like you're plugged in through, and
Uh-huh.
All right, go to bed.
It's getting weird.
You know what? I think it goes both ways, Ron. Go ask Vern what I had for dinner. I want to test this.
The quick answer is going to be whatever you were told you were having.
That's factually true.
That's actually true.
Excellent.
All right, is there anything else I can answer for you guys?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, we'll just try to get you on another next month, and
Okay. Yeah,
Cool.
we'll see about that. hopefully we can make it work out.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you
I'll
again.
stay up late.
Okay, bye, hon. Screw
Good
you
night,
up.
Jodi.
Good night.
I have to share one Flash Gordon thing that was really super cool that happened during Gen Con.
Excellent. ahead.
It was a real simple one. I had tweeted that the announcement had been made about the game, and Sam Jones, who played Flash Gordon in the 1980 movie, actually liked and retweeted it. I thought
That is
that was
fantastic.
pretty dang cool.
That is awesome. You should get a forward written by him. Put.
Oh, that would be perfect.
We are considering that.
I won't tell Jodi you said that.
No, exactly. I said considering. I said considering.
Considering.
I
It's an
was struck by
idea.
the fact that as soon as the announcement was made, you kept hearing all of these Brian Blessed imitations. Gordon's alive!
Oh, yeah.
And all of that. You occasionally hear a Daryl Arden like, Flash, Flash, I love you, but we only have 14 out. You didn't hear a single person imitating Sam Jones. I felt horrible for him. It's like, nobody's imitating the guy who the thing's named for. What's the deal? And it's like,
That's right.
Brian Blessed, what are you going to do?
The immediate thing I thought of. The immediate thing I thought of was the scene from Ted.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
God.
I'll leave it at that.
That is not part of the
No!
canon, unfortunately. Nor is Flash Gordon. That we can't use that either.
Right.
I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you
I just said the word Ted. That's it. So
And down the toilet we go.
in any case, so we're getting close to the end of the hour here, and so this question is for both Scott and Sean. When working with licensees or licenses, I should say, not licensees, licensors, do you face a certain level of? This is just a curiosity. Is there a certain sort of level of just like, holy crap, what did I get into? Or is it something that you're just like, no, this is going to be awesome. I've got this.
Go, Sean.
Yes. Look, I went after it. As everybody heard me say at Gen Con, the two most common questions I got asked were, how are you handling mega damage? And how in the hell did you get Kevin Simbia to go for this? Because Kevin had a long-standing tradition of pretty much not letting too many people play in his sandbox and being very, diving on things a certain way. But the thing is, it a lot had to do with how people approached him. And Kevin and I have been friends for a long time, so my situation is a little different. This isn't quite the same as I have no idea who those people who own that cool property are, and now we're going to be working cold with them. I can certainly talk to you about what it was like to work with Universal back when I was with the computer game industry and trying to work on a Star Trek project. That's a whole nother nightmare. But in this case, I had the advantage of talking to a friend and coming to some understandings about mutual expectations. So in my situation, it's almost less concern about what Kevin thinks, but Kevin really cares about his fans. Those are his most important constituents, as well they should be. So Kevin's concern is how his fans are going to react to things, and that's who I'm kind of looking at, as the fans of Rifts. and wanting to meet those expectations. So the pressure is intense. This is by far the most complicated, most intense work I've ever done, not because it doesn't work. It does. It works really well. But I want it to work exactly right, or as close to exactly right as possible.
You want to meet the expectations that the fans have. You want to hit that bar.
And it's a twofold thing, though. I have to hit the Savage Worlds fans' expectations and the Risk fans' expectations, and do it in such a way as that they don't end up crashing, that they actually meld.
Right.
And that's where so many people who've helped me along the way here, and we've just had such great interactions. I mean, Clint was absolutely valuable. That trip back to Hickory was extremely useful. I mean, we all worked together on that. I mean, it was a trip down to Arizona where I sat down with Shane and Ross with me, and John Wick was involved, and that was really freaking cool. And a couple of the guys, Michael Kahn, Jimmy, Valencia, and just some really, really great people. So what the point was, back to your question, it is a challenge. There's no question asked about it. The pressure's on, but at the same time, it's really, really exciting to get to go back to this world that so many of us remember as fans and play in it again and breathe some new life into it, some new ideas, new energy into it. So it's been a tumult of emotional experiences up and down, just exactly as you would have expected.
Awesome. Thank you. That's fantastic.
And Scott,
what's your answer?
Well, I mean, I've been playing with licensees or licensors, whatever, for literally decades. I was a writer-producer for Warner Brothers down in L.A. I worked for Kids WB for many, many years, so I was producing content for these huge licensees and having all these guys. What is it? Is it licensor? Anyway. And having all these guys come in who represented these huge companies or created these characters, and so I've always been comfortable with that. When it came to working on something like the Six Gun, what happened was I was first and foremost a fan of the comic, and I knew what I wanted to do with it. And then the second thing that I did was, it's odd to say this, but I wanted to make something that would appeal not just to the gamer. I really the whole time I was writing it, I kept thinking, I want this to be a companion book for fans of the comic as well as a role-playing game. So that was another thing that I took on. And then it was just having incredible communication with the creators. The creators of the comic, especially Cullen Bunn, the writer, and Brian Hurt, the primary illustrator, and I've representatives and these guys from Oni Press. All these guys were awesome. I mean, the doors were wide open. It also helps that I'm in Portland and Oni Press is based in Portland, so it made things really nice. Got a couple of nice, lunch and dinner meetings in there as well. But just sitting with these guys and kicking ideas around and being told flat out, we love the fact that you get it. You get the Six Gun. And that's where it really clicked, and I felt really comfortable playing in that universe. I'm really looking forward to doing the same thing with Flash Gordon. I don't think I'll be dining with anyone. Most of the guys who created that original stuff are long gone. Right. But it's attacking it in a way that you want to create something that makes you happy. That ultimately is I hate to say the term, but an homage to everything that made that license what it is and made it so attractive for so long. And that's what I'm looking forward to with Flash Gordon. So it's I don't know, I kind of come at it from a variety of different positions. But I love it. I love working with licensees, licensors, whatever. And of course, I have also, some people may not know this, but I also wrote original Doctor Who scripts for Big Finish Productions. So I've played in that universe as well, and dealing with the BBC was a colossal thing. So for me, it's a comfortable thing to play with licenses. So yeah, I've never had a problem with it, and I've certainly never been intimidated by it by any stretch.
Yeah, and I got to say, when we did the Six Gun Hangout on air, and for those of you who are watching this, if you haven't seen that yet, go back and watch it. It was a fantastic show, so much fun.
It was so fun.
And I just thought it was really cool watching how you were interacting with both Cullen and Brian.
Brian, yeah.
The interaction and the way you guys were just sort of geeking out about the setting, and they were geeking out about your work, which was kind of cool, right? Like, how flattering is that?
Yeah. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was really neat to see.
Well, one of the things, and I mean, it has been promoted, but one of the things in the companion, is it's an adventure that Brian and Cullen have plotted, and I'm making that an adventure. So I mean, Clint certainly could chime in more about that if we wanted to, but that's been sort of a really nice thing, because now we are completely collaborating on a Savage Worlds Six Gun product together. The creators of the comic and me. and everybody with Pinnacle, and it's turning into this beautiful thing.
That's amazing.
You're gonna
That
love
is
it.
amazing.
Tell us about that, Clint.
No,
Yeah, Clint. Come on, Clint.
I'm not bringing Jodi back.
For your own health and safety.
I will say one thing that's phenomenal about working with the licensed wars is this was the great part, like coming out of Gen Con. So we're there, Cullen's there, Brian's there, Charlie Chu, who's been our main liaison with Oni Press. And at the end of it, Charlie is sitting there, and he is basically telling Scott that he has to come run a game for the people at Oni Press.
Oh, yes.
He is enforcing the whole "come run us a game," aspect.
Yep, I've been press ganged into running a game for Halloween.
Fantastic.
Now the thing is, of course, Clint, that that adventure actually is already written. I wonder if we should make it available to the fans of the game, but we'll see.
It might make a nice one sheet.
Oh yes, we could probably make that happen.
Yeah. We can do very small type if it's long.
So what's blowing my mind about this discussion is, and understand this isn't to badmouth other companies. What's blowing my mind about this discussion, I just said my not for nothing, my New Jersey not for nothing, but
Forget about it.
every time a licensed RPG is late, it is always the publishers complaining about dealing with the licensors. I always hear, oh, we had to wait for approvals. The approvals process slowed this down, blah, blah, blah. I have never once seen a company go, we screwed up, we're fixing it. And the tale that you're telling is very different than what we hear from these other publishers. Is that just because you guys have class, or is it just that you're having a different...
Really,
You're just doing it right?
No, we have
Or
no
you just-
class. That's
Remember, Savage Worlds is classless.
classless.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's
Ooh,
classless.
nice.
But seriously,
I'm here all
I mean,
night, folks.
why am I not hearing any of those types of...
Because of the quality of the people we're working with. I mean, we have always put, with the Sixth Gun and Oni Press, they were phenomenal. I mean, again, that was, and I'll admit, we've been very picky about who we work with. I mean, we've had that kind of discussion before, going back to the Game's the Thing, way back years ago, about how the licenses we do are one Shane specifically really wants to do, or usually he has some connection with somebody that he wants to do it, like Space 1889 with Frank Chadwick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had the idea he wanted to do a Space 1889 game, and then he just said, well, why don't I just call Frank? And it's like Sean says, it's like, hey, I'd like to do riffs. Why don't I just ask Kevin if we can do that, And talking with the guys at like Oni Press and saying, hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, Cullen's a gamer. He ran an awesome game at Gen Con. I mean, everybody had a blast. It was fun just sitting there watching it.
Yeah.
And being able to work with people like that, that's what makes it go so well. I think some of the issues that come up when you're dealing with licenses and you're doing a licensed RPG are issues of, we're doing this RPG license because we think it will sell well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes more than because we really love this property. Obviously we love Flash Gordon. That's what Slick was the homage to,
Right. You have that genuine desire, that genuine enthusiasm, as opposed to just, oh, it's a license and we know we can make money on it, right? Yeah.
Well, Shane prefers to work with people he can work with. I mean,
Right.
he works across multiple venues, right? He still does some things in the computer games industry, and so there's a lot more money flowing through there, but he doesn't leave this because he loves this. He cares about this, and so he's going to always, and that's the philosophy we all kind of walk with him on, is, we want to work with people who want to work with us, and we want to create something cool together. And if it doesn't feel like that, it's not worth really getting into it.
Yeah.
So, without naming any particular properties or anything to that effect, because that's not what I'm looking for in this question, but has there been an instance where Pinnacle Entertainment Group has sort of turned away an opportunity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, not that long ago, really. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Turned away. Decided not to do a license because, I mean, it would have been, it could have been extremely, monetarily possibly successful, but decision, was made of one, and probably not the only one. I mean, I know it's not the only one. Where we've sat there and said, if we're not invested enough to do it, or and that's not there, the money alone. I mean, this is something that if he was here, Shane would say again. If he was doing this just for the money, there's a lot of other ways he could make money.
Sure.
More
Sure.
money, and stuff like that. There's a ton more with his background and his experience and what he's done. But this is what he wants to do, and he wants to make books that he loves. And this actually goes back all the way to the original Necessary Evil. When I was first working with him, Shane said, I said, well, you can really just take this and do what you want with it. I mean, I love that. And he says, no, you have to be involved because it's your dream. It's your setting. You have the passion for it. And that's what really shows through, I think, in a lot of the books. If you don't have the passion for it, I mean, you can hear the passion in Sean's voice, obviously talking about riffs, going back on. You can hear it in Scott's voice, both about being a fan of the Sixth Gun and, Flash Gordon and things like that. That's it. I mean, the passion shows through because you want to make games. If you want a game to be fun, it's got to be fun to write it.
Yeah.
And create it, and that's really what's gonna happen. And if it becomes hard, or it's all about well, we're gonna I mean,
slog through this thing.
Yeah,
right,
slog through this thing. That's not to say that everything is easy or anything like that, but a lot of times that passion is what gets you over the humps of it getting hard.
Right.
And it can't obviously be money that's making you pass that. That's just not going to do it. But
another interesting point here is that Clint can tell you that the phone call he got from me as I just left Michigan and I'm driving south through Ohio, giddy as a schoolboy, saying, "Oh my God, guess what I got?" Happened a few years ago. So this brings up another point. We don't Pinnacle doesn't do things until they're ready to do them,
right.
and they know that they can put the 100% effort that's necessary. So, Shane wanted to do it, but he wasn't about to commit to it until he knew he could allocate the resources and time and the energy and make sure that it was going to get done right. So we waited for a little while before we came forward with it and made it happen. So that's the other thing is that Shane wants to do it because, Pinnacle, as a team, we want to do it because it's fun and we're passionate about it, and we want to do it right, or we don't want to do it at all.
Right. Yeah, and you see that reflected in a lot of different products, a lot of projects, even in the Kickstarters. I think I see it as, when I see that the Kickstarter isn't to create the product, but simply to get the extra stuff and the product's done and ready. That to me speaks volumes as far as what Pinnacle's approach is in terms of quality and ensuring that a good product is going to exist.
So we should probably discuss the contest we have going on before we sign off. Yeah,
so we're going to do a little bit of a mention regarding we have a contest running with Fabled Environments. Many of the folks here on this episode, of course, know Fabled Environments. They do fantastic maps. Yeah, they're good people. Charles is fantastic.
I think Clint should put in a submission for this. I'm just saying.
You're
right. I
right.
don't know that that's going to be fair, considering I'm
kidding. I'm kidding.
There's 3 slots. There's 3 slots to win, so
Yeah.
You'll need one.
You might make top 5.
We're actually going to see him. We'll be seeing them next weekend.
That's nice.
If you've got anything you need to send him, like cash or whatever, you can just mail that to me, and I'll take care of it.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Right on it.
Yeah, what you should do is stand on your porch and hold your breath until it gets there.
So yeah, we are running a contest with Fabled Environments. We have the details of that on our website at www.savagebloggers.net. And basically, what it is you can pick one of the maps that Fabled Environments has produced, their modern floor plans, and submit in 250 words or less sort of synopsis of an encounter or an adventure you'd like to run with those maps. Or you could pick a couple maps if you'd like as well. There's 3 prizes, 3 level tiers of prizes that are available. Again, those are detailed on the post on the site. And there's also, all 3 winners will also have the opportunity to write up a one-sheet for that adventure, and which would be published then by Fabled Environments. So if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. And Ron, when are we running that until? Do you remember?
I think it's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday the 8th?
September 8th. September 8th is the deadline.
Tuesday the 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is Tuesday the 8th.
Yes. Yes.
I wanted to make sure because I knew it was the Tuesday after Labor Day. I just couldn't remember the number.
And just to sort of entice listeners and viewers that are watching right now, the first place prize is the entire Fabled Environments current catalog as of 7/15, July 15th.
Wow.
That's the entire catalog. The second place prize is all of the Kickstarter map bundles that they've done. That includes the average modern high school, the average modern shopping mall, and the average Wild West town. And then third place winner will be allowed to choose one of the Kickstarter map packs among that second place prize reward. So,
yep,
3 chances to win. Yeah. Charles really went all out on this one.
So we're talking about this now because Christian and I are dumb.
We are dumb.
We put out our this week's episode of the SBN podcast.
Totally forgot to mention it.
Christian pinged me earlier today and said, "Hey, we forgot to mention the contest," and I was like, "Wow, that was dumb of us."
Yeah.
And so here we are talking about it on the Hangout.
I just depend too much on Ron with his 9 years of experience.
Oh my God! Shut your face. This is me. This is me not working on the production side of this podcast.
Excellent.
Hit me the link after the show, guys. I'll throw it across my network as well.
Awesome, will do.
I'd like to touch something if I may. Well, plug anyway. I'm going to be, speaking of next weekend, this coming up Labor Day weekend, I am a guest at Pacificon Game Expo in Santa Clara.
Nice.
And that's going to be huge. I am running Savage Risk demos and doing a couple of panels about the development process for Savage Risk, kind of talking people through. There's a game designer's lab that they like to do, so people get to sit down with guys like us and talk about the actual technicalities and aspects of designing games. So I'm going to be doing a couple of presentations about that as well. Now, not Savage related, but I still want to brag about it because it's really freaking cool, and gamer geeks everywhere going to be just, thinks it's really cool. My career began with Champions. The first books I wrote professionally in this industry for Champions 4th edition. I've been very, very close friends with the original Hero System guys. All that time, the game when I started, we became very close. So imagine how cool it is for me to be able to bring Ray Greer, Steve Peterson, and Bruce Harley, 3 of the original 4 guys who started, playing characters they've not played in over 20 years. They were the first characters that would be created in Champion stats.
Wow.
I recreated them for them. We're not doing it in Champions because I'm involved in another game system called Realms of Paragons. But they're being reborn, if you will, and I'm running a special Guardians once more, because that's what they would call it, the Guardians. They're playing their characters. Anthony Gorella is going to be playing in that game. Mondo, Gabriel Vega, the con organizer, is going to be playing. Corinne's going to be in this one. It's going to be, they're actually setting up spectators for this, so this is actually going to be kind of a big deal at the show. And I'm going to run for those guys. It's a very special thing. So there's that. As I said, there's rich stuff going on. So if you're anywhere around Santa Clara for Labor Day weekend, come down to the con because it's going to be an all-star cast and there's going to be some fun just going to be had.
Do you know if that panel that you're going to be on is that going to be recorded by any chance?
I would imagine so. I think the guy who's running it, he's running the game design lab, but I couldn't swear to you that that's the case. So I'll check into that.
All right, cool. Yeah, that'd be cool.
You know what the problem is with Santa Clara, though?
You're going to tell us, though.
What?
No.
Too many GD vampires.
No, that's Santa Clara.
Ah,
Carla.
I know,
Right.
but they based it on.
Close enough.
I've actually been to that comic book shop and talked to the owner, and he showed me all the pictures from when, because they used his comic book shop in that movie.
Oh wow.
And
Nice.
I sat down there and chatted with him for me and Ray hung out with him for a while. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm actually planning on taking Corinne over there when we visit to cheese it too.
It's pretty cool.
It's a great
Well,
area.
it's a couple weeks away, but I'll squeeze one other thing too. It's in the Portland area, the Rose City Comic Con on Sunday the 20th. I'm going to be doing a panel on the Six Gun. I'm creating
nice.
a role-playing game based on a comic book. So it's going to be me and Charlie Chu from Oni Press, and we're going to just talk about how you can take a long-standing popular comic book series and turn it into a role-playing game. So that's, as I say, that's Sunday, September 20th.
Fantastic. And do you know if that'll be recorded as well?
I don't know, but I might record it.
One more
Awesome.
plug then. For those who know, Con on the Cob has always been a really awesome event for Savage fans. And this year marks the return of Corinne and myself in the Savage Saturday Night Bar, Sans Grill this time. But yeah, it's October 15th to the 18th, and they're flying us in for that. And Evil Mike and Chaos Steve and Norm, no relation Hensley, and Dave McGuire and all those guys are going to be there. And I'm running Savage Rift there as well. Plus, there's going to be just a ton of other Savage games. So if you're anywhere near Northern Ohio, 15th, 18th October, there's another place to come find out all about Savage Rifts and get some good Savage gaming in.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Awesome. Clint, you got anything you want to plug?
I'm not going to be at Tacticon this upcoming weekend.
I was hoping to be as well, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, I wish I could have made that, because we actually decided not to be doing Dragon Con this year. Unfortunately, we're really tight on all of our fall into winter cons because of obligations we have now that my girls have both gotten into high school, and wow, that suddenly will eat up your time.
You're old.
Yeah, I am old. Young whippersnappers.
Shut up, punk.
Yeah.
Are you still doing Mace?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say that's the next one I know we're going to be at. We'll be at Mace, which will be down in Charlotte, November. I think it's the second week in November this year.
Yeah.
But it's always the first, second week in November. But yeah, we're definitely going to be down at Mace, and I know there's already, they've started doing sign-ups, although they haven't opened up game registration yet for people to sign up for them. But yeah, there's already a bunch of Savage Worlds games that I know are going to be down there, and of course we've got a great assortment of Savages in this area, and some phenomenal games, that I've already seen that are out there being run. So it'll be exciting, and it's a great bunch of guys. It's always been a great convention, and for people who can make it, unless they make it like once in their life,
Hey, I made it the one time to Mace.
That's right, and you were recognized in the dealer hall just by your voice alone.
So funny.
Ross will kill me if I don't mention that he will be at Tacticon, and he is running Savage Rifts there. So.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Sweet.
Excellent. Excellent.
Cool. Hey, I have to say this just because it's people we've had a good time with on this show before. I just received my download code from the Kickstarter for the Thin Blue Line, a Detroit police story. So if you kickstarted that awesome setting, you should probably go look in your email box.
I will be doing that right after this. Yes.
So
Yeah, I started reading the player's guide. It's pretty good so far.
I just figured out my excuse for why I didn't go to bed on time tonight.
Like I just met my next ex-wife.
Right.
If you use that as an excuse, she's going to expect you to run that game this weekend.
True story. So speaking of Kickstarters, once again, Clint, good luck with your Carolina game tables.
Thank you.
It's super exciting.
By the way, I want to toss in that that Fabled Environments has actually joined us up and out with that. They're actually giving away free maps to the backers on that. Fabled Environments and Dramascapes both stepped up. Really great people, good friends there supporting it out there. I mean, figured you got a table, you need to put some maps out on them, and especially, hey, if you're playing Six Gun, the Wild West set from Fable environments now. It's a perfect set.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed.
Or some other. There's another Savage Worlds Wild West setting. I can't.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
I think I've heard about it before, but
Death World. Death World. No.
Death World. That's what it is.
Kill Planes or something. Kill Planes.
something like that.
Yeah.
Murder Not Eastern.
It's that one based on Shane's license plate. I can't.
Right.
God, I can't remember the name of it.
Awesome. Well, we are way over our usual hour slot, which is fine because this has been tremendously fun. I could probably sit here for another hour, honestly. But
It's
thank
fun
you.
keeping you East Coasters up, man. It's
Yeah, right.
it's just about to turn 8 o'clock for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm hitting 11 p.m.
That's
over
right. 8 o'clock.
Scott and I are just getting started on our night.
Exactly.
here. Well,
Hold on.
come on.
I'm sure I did not have machine work.
All right. Well, Sean, thank you for coming on here and talking to us about Savage Rifts. We're really excited about it. I think it's definitely in good hands, obviously. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even having to be on the same podcast with Ron, it was fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys were like the dynamic duo back in the day. Well, actually, Ron and Vern were the dynamic duo. You were like...
I was the dancing monkey in the background. Pretty much.
yeah.
He was an excellent third wheel.
Don Patrick Fannon, excellent third wheel. That's going on the tombstone, I'm pretty
You
sure.
need to put a business card that says exactly that. And Scott, excellent to have you back again. Thank you for...
Anytime, man. I
All
love it.
about your hearing about the Flash Gordon stuff, and of course once there are more details to share, let us know.
I'll be ready.
We'll have you back on here.
Oh, no question.
And
Good seeing
Clint,
you again, Scott.
yeah, and Clint, good to have you back, and glad we didn't have any technical issues. That's second time in a row, no technical issues. Awesome.
I'm gonna let Jodi set this up all the time.
There you go. There you go.
It's done right.
But thank you for hitting up all the Peg Inc. Questions that we had for you, and of course also give our thanks to Jodi as well for.
Well, thank you guys.
Sure. So that's it. I think we're good. Ron, you got anything else before we close out?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you all again. Rock and roll. All right. Well, good night, everybody, and thank you again.
Night.
Night.